Healing is not all sunshine and rainbows. It is not the yoga bad bitty experience of showing up with a little yoga mat, doing the stretches and the chants, or just the breath work, the affirmations, talk therapy, or a nice hot bath with a salt bomb. I've come to understand that the real meat of it is ugly crying. It is having your lips tremble when you're trying to speak up for yourself and being vulnerable. It's confusion, it's depressing, it's kind of dark and isolating. And all of this points to it actually working. Like, that's the medicine you need in healing, I believe. So in this video, I'd like to talk about the illusion I've had of thinking that there would be a clean transition from my survival structure to my new healed integrated one. Now, in early therapy, of course, I had, in my head, I understood, like, duh, I'm probably going to have to be a newbie at this for a little bit, but I don't think I fully grasped the messiness of the in-between in having to, really open that up and allowing yourself to be a beginner. So I'd like to share my own path here and the route that have been trying to navigate and see where this goes. Would like to give a little visual on directing centers. Now, this is something I borrowed from the book titled Personality Shaping, and one of the main concepts in there is directing centers. So like you can see here, we have a survival or deformed directing center. And imagine this a personality structure that someone adopts going through trauma, dealing with cPTSD. What most likely happens is that you end up with like survival tactics as a personality, or habits really, to keep yourself quote unquote safe. So you come out of a series of habits that form a survival structure. Now for me, I had a lot of shoulds that walled me in here, and I can read some of these actually. So my boundaries for this structure were: I should always be kind. I should never disagree. I should always have something witty to respond with. I should never show any negative emotions like anger or sadness. I should always have a logical backing to my actions, so I can't just like wing it from my intuition. And these shoulds are the deep basis that form like your beliefs of how you should act, and those are the walls that you run into. So let's say you get into a dispute and then you feel upset about it and you want to say something, but you run into the wall of like, oh, I should not express that. I should be kind. I should be understanding. Like it kind of creates this wall around you. So this becomes your directing center, your survival center. It's usually attributed to be small, performative, people-pleasing, or fawning. But in the book, it shows that not only can you get out of this, you can move to a new directing center. Now this is, keep in mind, this is not something outside of you. This is within you, but it's just a more expansive, larger version of you, and a larger directing center. Saint Augustine in Confessions is a good example of a man who goes through a changing of who he is and aims to be something higher. But with healing, usually when you're talking with a therapist or you read some books, you usually get to the point where you're like, oh shit, I know that I'm operating out of like a stunted program, and I can see where I want to go. Like, you flesh this out with your therapist, for example, because all of this is in you. And what you aim for is to operate from courage, truth, vulnerability, kindness, and to this become your new directing center. Now I have a nice little, where's my arrow? Where's that damn thing? I got a nice little arrow right here. Now, what I really want to talk about then, this this portion right here, okay, I used to think that I could very skillfully just boop, boop, just skip all of this shit and go from my imperfect, perfect little self to the perfect larger self. You know, I don't want to diddle daddle around here. I want to be Tyler Durden in the movies. I don't want to have any of that crap in between. But it's not. You can't skip this part. So I found a nice little GIF, or do y'all call it GIF? Um, this is the meat of it that we're talking about. The danger. This is, let's say you get to therapy and you finally kind of set yourself a map and you're like, you know what, I've set this up for myself. I'm going to operate and try to approach the situation with truth and courage. What you'll find usually in the beginning is that you will fail miserably. At least for me, it stung so much trying to like speak up for the first time in a scenario where I just ran into so many unexpected emotions and responses and things in myself that I didn't know I had to face. So essentially, there's just no skipping this. And I've finally been able to accept this a little bit more fully. It was some years ago that my therapist asked me what I imagined my timeline to be for healing, and I very confidently said, he's like, 1 to 2 years. I'm gonna knock this out of the park. And he kind of chuckled and gave me back, like, why don't give yourself like 4 to 6? And I gasped. I was like, no, dude, I'm gonna knock this out of the park. I'll show you. I didn't say that, but that's what I was thinking. And it took me some time to learn that I had to lay down the perfectionist in me. This was a big thing for me personally, and I think a lot of people hold this as well, but I had a social perfectionist. My parents expected me to behave in a certain way, and this ties into my shoulds, right? I should always be kind. I should always be witty and have a response ready at the get-go. I should not show these emotions, and I should behave with this etiquette. And this is something that I took into healing. This is how I operated, and it's very hard to let go of, but that's also how I approached healing. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this perfectly. And then after a couple of years, I finally got to the point where, like, fuck, I can't. I have to reorient myself and get out of my head, because this is not the way. I am not perfect, right? I am very human, and I see now that I can't theorize and read my way to the other side. That's what I thought I could do in the beginning. I was like, I'm gonna read my way. I could jargonite my way to the other end of this. I read the books and I can talk about theory, but that's not where the rubber meets the road. So it's when you finally kind of step into the tension, speak from truth, be vulnerable in situations where you get to experience like the messy part, right? Like that's the bridge that you need to get to the other side. It's not reading. So I remember, the first boundaries I set, I really like either overdid them or I underdid them. It was like blown out of proportion for what the situation was, but I'm aiming for something, right? Like I'm aiming for the new directing center, but my bow is not tuned. I'm overshooting and I'm undershooting. I'm missing the mark, but I'm constantly collecting data now, and I'm messing up in public. I'm making a fool of myself with my friends, and you learn that it's actually okay. Like you get a little more comfortable. And as you get the reps in, you also start to realize that there's a boon in it, right? It's a funny thing how this works in the universe, that once you step into the unknown and you start trying new behaviors, like I had, there's this garage that was trying to rip me off for $200, and I went in there and I knew what I was going to say, and it was like a 10 to 15 minute ordeal with the staff, and I noticed all this tension. It was uncomfortable and icky, and I really had to fight this internal voice of like, dude, let's go, let's just accept the price, let's go. But I stuck to my guns, and I noticed like I feel fucking alive right now. This is riveting. Like the blood is pumping. I am on fire internally, trying to like keep it together. And when I got out of there, I was screaming in the car. I felt like I could run through a wall. And this is the boon, right? You'll begin to see that what you excavate out of you is natural boundaries. There's a version of you that has been suppressed due to survival that you get to through this messy process, and it's been waiting for you, right? Like I noticed that these boundaries have always been there, and once I started to tune into them some more and I really honored them by like speaking up, it made me feel alive. Like there was something in me that has never had this safe environment to be expressing this, sadness, anger, upset, a boundary. And the boon is that once you start aligning to this with reps and making mistakes, you increase your new directing center. Like it becomes a little bit more clearer over time. And I guess some of the other messy things that I ran into were, let's say you do step into tension, right? And you feel that in your body, and maybe you set a boundary with someone for the first time. Immediately, I can almost guarantee you, like you'll run into your shoulds and the guilt that comes with it, because you go across the wall that you've built for yourself and you say something and you set a boundary, which is probably very reasonable. But immediately I would get filled with like, oh shit, was that too much? Did I overdo it? Oh, this person is so kind to me. Why did I say that? I was like, hey, dude, my bad. Listen, I didn't mean it that way. And I was just a little upset here. Like, then there's a new layer, right? That is uncovered, and you have to digest the guilt that comes with this. And it's very, it's like a swampland that you have to move through. So it's really a process of undoing the perfectionist. At least for me, it was the social perfectionist, and it's to see that you can mess up. You're allowed to show anger, to be silent, to say no, to upset someone else, and not always like be the life of the party, and to see that the world won't crumble. It teaches you that being messy is okay, and it most of all taught me to be human. It's very human to have this experience and to be upset about things, to be jealous about stuff, to share with your partner. You're like, hey, I'm uneasy about this. I felt a little jealous about that. Like, I don't want you to change anything, but I just wanted to get it off my chest. Like, it frees stuff up. You become human because it's a human experience. You're not perfect. Is what I finally had to tell myself, right? I am not perfect. And this is where, in all that like messiness, the healing usually really begins. Like, that's the juice of it, right? Like, you can talk about it, but have you actually like felt it? Yeah, so as a kid, I used to think that I had to be near perfect in order to achieve some form of safety and love, and now I can allow myself more grace to be human as I try to become a more whole version of myself. This is like a lifelong road, and I think I'll leave it at that for this video. But allow yourself some grace, be kind to yourself and accept that it's gonna be cringy, dog. And I'll tell you, the boon is in there. Do the silly things, speak up, tremble, fold in public. You will thank yourself down the road. And don't rush it. It's not a race. Be human. We're all silly, cringy animals, really. I'm gonna drop it there. Peace.